Now, what you both
objectivity.
were saying made me think of a way of exemplifying this with two siblings, Dagny Taggart and James Taggart.
This is a great example.
Right? Because okay, environmentally wise, they're both brought in the same family. They are exposed to hard work and entrepreneurship, but then the choices that they make and the character that they have, when Ayn Rand is describing them as children, they're completely different, right? Dagny is developing honesty, she's developing courage, whereas James is always more timid and dishonest. So maybe this is so hard for people to grasp, because you can say, okay, here is Dagny growing up and here is James growing up, but there comes a point, where do we draw the line where Dagny will be Dagny forever and James will be James forever, and he cannot have an awakening moment when he's 55 where he starts being more like Dagny because he has stuck up his life with all these bad decisions, that there's no way that then he can magically have the personality or the character or the traces that it took Dagny or all her life to have, right? Can people change?
But those are two different things. So,
okay.
And it was relevant that you put it, can he magically do this and become?
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
he can't magically.
He can't magically, no.
But,
rationally?
Yes,
okay.
But over time, and it may be that if he's 75 years old, he just doesn't have the time to get to the level that Dagny got to. But I think everyone retains the power of choice. Absent they've gone into a coma or a psychotic, they have a power of choice in the moment. And James Taggart in Atlas Shrugged could say, okay, I'm stopping to evade everything. I'm going to start to try to face the facts, try to face reality, try to face the real circumstances of my life. It will be really, really difficult for him to do that. And he'll have all kinds of, because of what he's done to himself and what he's stored in his mind, he'll have all kinds of temptations to say, this is too difficult, this is not worth it, what's the point of this? And to evade and to go back to what he was. So I think it's very hard, and that's why it's not anywhere close to magic, for him to put himself on a better trajectory. And the same for Dagny on the reverse side, that if Dagny started to say, like, well, this is, I spend 16 hours a day in the office, and what for? And maybe I should just go home and leave at 8 hours and start to coast, and I'm not going to really, who cares about the problems on the railroad? And then do what James starts to do is, there's not really problems, nobody could help it, it's just a natural disaster. And she could start not facing reality. And over time, that would have a really bad effect on her personality, her character, her moral nature. But that's different than it being magic.
I think this is a really great example, and I often use it to talk about this issue. And one of the things that Onkar said about why, for James, he could still start to make different choices late in life, but it would be really difficult. I think what that kind of point shows is what it means to form character. That there's an idea of character that's kind of an enduring set of dispositions. That's something that you make part of yourself, even though you have the power to start to make it in a different way. And that's especially important when it's the idea that Ayn Rand called the idea of a self-made soul. Onkar has a great essay about this in the companion to Ayn Rand. But it's important when you start to think about some of these ideas that get tossed around in our culture today. You didn't build that. Now, Obama, when he said that, he was talking about roads and bridges, but there are philosophers who will sort of take that idea and run with it, and they'll say, you didn't build your soul, you didn't build your character. The fact that you have a good work ethic, you think that means you're entitled to the fruits of your labor, but since your character really just comes from accidents of your genetics and your environment, you can't take credit for it, and so we should redistribute the wealth. But it's important that Dagny's work ethic, she didn't magically will it into existence at any given moment. That's true. But she built it up over years of making rational choices, even though she started from the same place as James. And so, when people say, well, Dagny, people like Dagny, they start with certain advantages, inherited wealth, even probably some degree of intelligence. They didn't choose to have those advantages to begin with. Someone gave it to them. That's true. But what the Dagny and James example shows is that justice is about what you do with what you're given, right? Dagny does great things with what she's given. James doesn't. Dagny deserves the results of her work, and James doesn't have any work to do to deserve the results of it.
Yeah.